When you want to create a macOS app in Flutter, it may not look exactly as you'd expect. This is because you do not have access to macOS design language in Flutter. How about a package that allows you to build macOS apps that looks like a native macOS design? Here comes
macOS UI,
a package that allows you to implement the current macOS design language using Flutter widgets and themes. In this tutorial, we are building a simple app music UI using macOS Flutter package. All right, so we have this setup, and the first thing we need to do is to go over to our command palette and remove our comments. So we have those comments off, and also let's remove the boilerplate that comes with a new project. Okay, so we need a couple of setup to do, and the first thing is to create a new folder called data. This will hold the data for our app, and we can just mock a little data in a file called data.dart. And also we are going to create a new folder called pages, which we hold the pages we display on the app. And we can have another file called home.dart, which is the home of our app, and we can create a stateless widget here called, and we just call it home screen. And of course, you're going to import material. All right. Okay, so we have that set up, and we are going to go over to main.dart and put in our home screen. Yes, this works. How about we go over to prospect.yaml file and install a couple of dependencies we are going to use. Of course, we are going to need the macOS UI. So go over to your command palette and use your prospect assist. And we are going to put in macOS UI. It's going to install that as a dependency. There you go. It comes with Cupertino icons, which we really need. So you leave that there. Also, because I love Flutter hooks, I'm going to use that. And so let's have Flutter hooks. Makes things easy for me. And I think you should use Flutter hooks as well. All right, so we have that set up. And so let's go back to our home and extend hook widget instead of stateless widget. So we have the pop get running. So once that is done, we'll be able to see hook widget. All right, so import that. Okay. Now, also there's a little bit of thing we need to do. So instead of material app, we are just going to put a macOS app here. macOS app. So this is already throwing an error because it doesn't understand what it is. But we are going to fix that in a little bit. So instead of team data, we are going to put in macOS team data, which you can always have access to here. If you click on that, you are going to get access to the light or the dark theme, and you can do a copy width, and we can put a visual density to be adaptive. So make it adaptive. All right, yeah. So that is that, and yeah, once you run this, we have a macOS app. So go back to your home the dart, and instead of scaffold that we use in our mobile apps, you should use a macOS scaffold here. And it comes with a couple of properties, which we are going to look in a little bit. But before then, let's try to run this app on the desktop. And bingo, we have our Apple Music app here that you can see running. Okay, a little bit of thing. Let's get rid of this red banner. I don't like it. So you go over to your macOS app and you can always remove that. Yeah, and we have it right here. All right. But it still doesn't look like how we saw it in the demo. So we want to make this transparent, and we want to remove the title bar here because we actually don't need it. So what you need to do is to go over to your Mac OS folder, and you go to runner, and you go to main Flutter window.swift. And I have a couple of code that we need to replace this with, which we are going to replace that right now. Okay, you may be asking how the code works. Well, unless you know a couple of Swifts, you really do not need to bother yourself about that. Okay. All right, so we have the code here. What it does is that it's going to set the title bar to be hidden, and it's going to remove the background color and also set it as blur, so we're going to have a blur view. And if we run this, stop this and run it again, we should have a blurred version of the app, which works great. Okay, so there you go. And we have yeah, so we have this version. Let's reload that. We should be able to see how it looks. Okay, so let's go ahead to sort of put our scaffold in there, and we go back to our home.dart, and at the top of here we are going to create a list of pages that we will show on the screen, and it's going to be a list of widgets, and we could just pass in our main page, which we have not created, and we are going to create that. So let's go to our pages and just create a main page. And let's create a stateless widget in the main page .dart and just call it main page. And for now, let's keep that simple. And also let's import that here. In our Mac OS scaffold, let's sort of set the background, and you have access to a couple of property. So if you over, you have a list of children and sidebar, and then you have the title bar and the background color. So we try to set the background color of the app like this. Okay, so it's transparent now. Can you see? Okay, this is translucent, not transparent. Okay. All right. The next thing is we want to set the sidebar, and because it has a list of actions here, so you can do that by setting the sidebar property and passing the sidebar widget in there. So it comes with a builder function, and you need to add the builder function there. It also requires a minimum width. It needs a minimum width. That means it won't shrink lower than the minimum width. But for this, what I did was to pass in 200 as the minimum width. And for the builder function, you are supposed to return a sidebar items. Yeah. So it comes with a couple of property, the current index, and you have the change function and a list of items which are actually sidebar items. Okay, and so let's go ahead, and if you look at your sidebar items, it also has scroll controller, so we will just pass in the scroll controller that we have over here. So if you have multiple items in your sidebar, it will automatically just scroll. And then we have a current index here. So at the top, right after our build method, we are going to define a variable which would be called page index, and we set the index to be 0, like this. So that means to be an initial index. So our current index, we just say it's page index dot value. And in our change function, what we are going to do is to just tell it that once the page changes, just set the change item, like the index, to our page index here. Simple. And for the items, it's going to be a list of sidebar items. So we are going to set a list of sidebar items. So so we have 3 items, and one is called as a label, which is going to take on a widget, and it is listen now. Then we can just duplicate this and just put the commas there. And for this, we are just going to call this browse and this radio. Okay, so we have that. And when you do your hot reload, you are going to see your change right off the bat, which you can see now. As you see, as we change it, it changes. Okay, now also you can have access to a couple of things here, and which is also, look at it, we have access to selected color. So we want to change the selected color to something other than this blue. You can see it's blue, which is the default now. So you can set the selected color to this color, and when you save that, you're going to see a change. Yeah, this is what we want. Also, this portion here, the sidebar, does not have it's not translucent like this, so we want to fix that. And also you can see it can go more than 200 that we already set. So if you go to the sidebar, you can always see a property called box decoration, and also it has padding. So we are going to first put a padding, and we are going to set the top to be 50, and then we are going to set a box decoration and apply color there with a default opacity of 0.2, so that we can see our translucent effects. Yes, which works. All right, this looks cool already. How about we go ahead and create this? Now, if you go over to the Mac OS scaffold, it requires a list of children. So we need the children property to be able to do this. So what are you going to do? What should we do? So we supply the children, and it's going to take on a list of widgets like this. So it's going to take a list of widgets, but the widget's got to be content area because that's what it wants. So we are going to add the modifiers there, and it comes with a builder function. So it also has a scroll controller. So that means whatever you put in there is going to automatically scroll as well. So if you have like a scroll view, a single chart scroll view, you can just pass in the scroll controller and it's going to work automatically. But because of this tutorial, we are just going to return a main page, the main page that we created the other time. So just keep things simple. All right, so that means we are going to go over to our main page here, and we are going to do some just writing a couple of widgets. And the first one we are going to do is to just write in a padding, because we want to pad the top, and we just apply a padding to it, which I have here. We apply a padding of up 40, right 40, left 40. No. Okay, so we actually done in the const, and we, for the chart, we just pass in a column because we want to put a list of children there here. And we are going to set the cross-axis alignment. Yeah, just start. And for the children, we will have a size box that contains an icon and a search now. Okay, so let's look at this. So we have a size box, and also the child is row, and we have a Cupertino icon, which is search. So Cupertino icons is the one for Cupertino. So of course it makes sense to want to use Cupertino icons. And then I have its text search here, and it const of spacer, and I have a circular avatar, and I have background image here, which has a default background image. By the way, we have not set up our assets, so I'm going to quickly just do that. Okay, so there you go. I have already set up and dragged all the images in the asset folder, so we won't have a problem with that. Okay, so it needs me to restart, and I'm going to run and debug again, so we'll be able to see that. While that is doing, we can go over and set up our data. So for our data, we are just going to have a list of cards that we will display on the page. So this is what we have. We have a class called card model, which is going to take in image URL title, a subtitle, and then I set up a list of cards here, and which just have the properties set there. Okay, so I run the image again, the project again, and this is the return. So we have that row here, which is great. And let's go back to our main page and just finish that. So we have our size box here. So I just set a size box so that I want that to be fixed at the top, which we have already. And okay, so I have a couple of others here, which we have size box. The height is going to be 40, and then you have a B text called listen now, which we are looking at right now. And the last part will be to have an expanded widget, so it will take the rest of the screen, but it's going to contain a list of our artists that you are looking at. So it's going to take its height of media query that the size. It's going to take the height of the device, and of course the child. I'm going to have a grid view builder there. So grid view the builder, and I want the properties to come, so I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to allow my light bulb to its work. Okay, so for the grid delegate, we are just going to pass in a silver grid delegate, and we have this here. For the item counts, it will just be our cards.length, and doesn't see cards, so we import cards. It will be our cards.length here. So the item builder will return just a card. So I have the card here. So this is like a custom card. So I have a container, the alignment in the center. It has, it's going to have a background that takes the image URL. So the background fits the whole container. And then we have a border radius of circular. And also I have a frosted glass box for the glass thing. And I'm going to just create that here. It's not a package. It's just a widget that adds a frosted glass box there. So this is how it looks like, and basically when you save that, and we have this, and there you go. So this is how to just play around with the macOS UI. It has a couple of other properties as well, which you can check out, which is really great and wonderful. And if you really want to build apps that looks like a macOS app itself, this is a great package to use. And what I like about it is that it actually scales with minimal effort that I did. It's totally just responsive. It just responds to it totally. So you won't have any problems with this. So well, that is how we have been able to build a simple Apple Music UI. And if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification to see more videos in future. And also you should check out this package if you want to build that. I'll put a link in the description to see the package, and also a link to this code so that you'll be able to play around with code a little bit. All right, so thank you, and see you in the next video.